Well, much of the nation's attention has focused on the Great Lakes state, Michigan's Democratic Senate primary. With us now from Detroit, Bloomberg opinion columnist Ron Brownstein, Nancy Kaffer with us as well. She's the editorial page editor for the Detroit Free Press. Nancy, let me start with you. Today, as I understand, the last day for early voting in the state of Michigan, and I look at the number from the Secretary of State's office. More than 1 million voters have cast their ballots already. Just underline for us here the importance of this race, yes, for Michiganders, but for Democrats across this country as well.
You know, the control of the Congress, I think, runs through Michigan here. We've got a hugely consequential Senate race that's going to tell us a number of things. We've got progressive candidate Abdul El-Sayed, far more centrist candidate, U.S. Rep. Haley Stevens. So those are two sort of ideological choices Democrats face, but we're also facing a test of what exactly money can do in a primary. Representative Stevens has $52 million in outside spending in this race. And it's a 12-to-1 spending advantage over El-Sayed, who has, I think, a stronger ground game, more of an organic kind of viral support. And so we're looking at not just a choice in ideology, but then how money can communicate that ideology or the desirability of each candidate to voters.
I mean, Ron, I'm wondering what your take is on that, because we talk a lot about how money doesn't always equate to votes. We see a lot of times, especially candidates spending their own money on races. That's almost never successful, even though that's not necessarily the case here. But give us a rundown. Compare and contrast these two candidates for us, if you will. Who's supporting whom? And I mean, the polls are not that close at the moment. The latest Michigan Democratic Senate poll has Abdul El-Sayed 54% to Haley Stevens 39%.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the culmination of an extraordinary year in Democratic primaries. I mean, I've been covering politics since the early 1980s, and I can't recall a year when I've written so many stories about Democratic primaries, or for that matter, Republican primaries. You know, we have seen a kind of systematic series of conflicts between left and center in House races, some Senate races, and this is really the kind of the main event. I mean, both sides are kind of treating this as, to use the World War II analogy, a battle of the bulge. I mean, enormous effort on the kind of the party establishment, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, Gary Peters, the outgoing senator that they're hoping to replace. They've all endorsed Haley Stevens. And then kind of the constellation of leftist luminaries have aligned behind El-Sayed, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, the Squad. So it is very clear on that. I think, you know, the ideological dimension is important, but in many ways, I think it is a reflection of the depth of alienation of rank-and-file Democratic voters from the party establishment above all. I mean, you can't overstate how completely the final months of the Biden presidency and the inability to stop Trump from returning and the inability to slow him down once he did has discredited Democratic leadership with Democratic voters. And so their warnings about electability in El-Sayed's case, which may be very well justified, I think are largely falling on deaf ears.
Nancy, I want to ask you about an article Bloomberg published this week centering on black voters in the state of Michigan, and this is a pool, I gather, of about a quarter of voters. Black voters will play a crucial role here in this primary, and Haley Stevens has the backing of the Congressional Black Caucus, of the Michigan Democratic Party Black Caucus as well. How hard fought is this demographic here in this race?
You know, I think it's a key voting demographic. I think it's all sort of a key moral demographic. A lot of progressive politics center around economic justice. And if progressive candidates, as we have seen, can sort of fail to connect with the Black community, it's a little bit of a challenge to continue to make that argument. So no, it's a very desirable voting bloc, both for loyalty and, again, for what it means about the causes that you're endorsing. So we'll see. I mean, I think that Representative Stevens has been polling a little bit better with Black voters, specifically in Detroit, where most Black voters are centered. We'll find out on Tuesday whether those efforts were successful or not. El-Sayed's been here a lot trying to get those votes as well. It's going to be, I mean, I've been doing politics here for 26 years, and I generally feel like I have a sense of what's going to happen. And this is the first race in as long as I can remember that I'm really am not sure, and I'm very eager to see what happens.
Fair enough. And Ron, there's another group that's been very important in this debate, and that's there's been a lot of focus on Israel and support of AIPAC. It's become a bit of a sticking point. We've got some sound we want to play you really quick.
ask yourself why it is that we are paying $5 gas, why it is we can't seem to get out of this quagmire. It's because for too long, our foreign policy has been handed to us by the likes of the State of Israel and AIPAC, who has made sure that Democrats and Republicans are doing their bidding. I don't take that money.
What I will work for in the United States Senate, we need long-term peace. Donald Trump has failed us. The Prime Minister of Israel has failed in that regard.
So what do you do with this? I mean, is this an issue that voters are really making the decision based off of how important is this, given where this race is and the history of how people vote in the state, especially it was an issue in the presidential race and perhaps an outsized one that Democrats weren't expecting?
Yeah, look, I mean, in polling, there's no question that issues of affordability and standing up to Trump, are more Democrats cite that as major factors in their votes than Israel-Palestine. But I think it's become, here and elsewhere, a symbol, particularly the AIPAC support of kind of whether you are kind of going along with the way Democrats have traditionally done things, or whether you're someone who is going to push for new directions. And I think that is above all what we're seeing among Democratic voters here. Not to understate how completely support for Israel has crumbled in the U.S. I mean, in Gallup polling, the share of Americans expressing a favorable view toward Israel is close to 30 points lower than it was 5 years ago. I mean, that's comparable to what we saw for Russia around the invasion of Crimea. And it's not, it's not confined to Democrats, although it's most extreme among Democrats. You're seeing it among Republicans too. I mean, there is no question that what we are watching here is a significant backlash against the way Israel behaved and the way its defenders in the U.S. Have behaved. And I think Stevens aligning so closely with AIPAC, if she loses this race, I think that is a signal to Democratic voters that they have to have at least a more skeptical. It doesn't mean you have to, oppose Israel or view the security relationship as fundamentally a negative for the U.S., but kind of that unmitigated, unqualified support, I think is extremely problematic in a Democratic primary at this point.
Nancy, I've got a two-part question for you. The first is, tell us a bit about Mike Rogers, the former congressman against whom the winner is going to have to run. And the second is, we see Ron Brownstein not in front of his amazing bookshelves in Los Angeles. He's in Detroit. He's on a reporting trip there. What's one thing he needs to know or something he should check out while he's on that reporting trip to get a holistic sense of the state of this race?
Okay, so Mike Rogers, he was a U.S. rep for a while in the aughts. He is a longtime Michigan politician. He's an extremely conservative Republican. He has said that he wants to roll back key provisions of the Affordable Care Act. He wants people to pay for preventative care. He has suggested that sick people should pay more for insurance, which again are kind of key things that the Affordable Care Act tried to resolve. He's a career law enforcement agent. He was in the FBI. He endorsed Trump for the first time after January 6th, which is an interesting choice for a law enforcement person. And in an editorial board endorsement review with the Free Press in 2024, he was a lot more MAGA-oriented than he had been, in his previous iteration as a Republican candidate. He suggested that people who were incarcerated should not be released from prison if they were illiterate until they had learned to read, which is a pretty dramatic statement. And so the biggest thing about Mike Rogers is the Michigan Democrats are really tearing themselves up right now over this primary, but every Michigan Democrat aligns far more with Haley Stevens or Abdul El-Sayed than they do with Mike Rogers. And it's going to be fascinating to see if the party, whoever wins this primary, can become a coalition, because Michigan is a purple state and it's going to take a full Democratic coalition. Every Democrat falling in line, not necessarily falling in love, and getting out to vote in November. So that's what you need to know about Mike Rogers. And what do you need to know about
Very
Detroit?
quickly,
We've got about 10 seconds left. So
I normally tell people to go get tacos in Mexican Town, but I'm not sure that's.
I think that's good enough.